Hawks could be dead, All For One devours the Vestiges, and Endeavor's true origins are revealed. Let's talk about all of this and more as we dive right into the newest chapter of My Hero Academia. So My Hero Academia Chapter 356 is finally out, and with it we get to see the continuation of the devastating duel between the King of Villainy and our heroes. And once again, the stakes are raised, except this time it's like never before. But before I begin talking about this chapter, don't forget to Detroit smash that like button and slide on into that subscribe button's DMs to hit that notification bell. And now, without further ado, let's jump right into My Hero Academia Chapter 356, titled Regarding the Enemy. This chapter opens up directly where the last chapter left off, with Jiro, who has just combined the power of her quirk with Hawks' sword to crack open All For One's mask, announcing to Tokoyami that now is the perfect time for him to attack. Tokoyami, without hesitation, then catapults Jiro off his back, but not before she wraps her black jacket around Dark Shadow, however, as Tokoyami takes off his jacket and wraps it around Dark Shadow's arm, causing it to be covered in darkness, allowing Dark Shadow to temporarily expand and unleash 100% of its power. Basically, Tokoyami used his jacket to cover Dark Shadow's arm, causing it to supercharge into shade, allowing him to unleash a devastating attack, which he calls Black Abyss Ephemeral Ragnarok. As Tokoyami charges towards the King of Villainy, Hawks cries out to All For One that he was wrong all along. They weren't just stalling for time until Endeavor returned. They are going to finish this fight right here, right now. And with this, Dark Shadow lands a perfect hit on the still immobilized All For One, completely shattering his helmet in the process. All For One, now realizing the truly dire situation he is in, comments about how he usually relies on his stolen vibration and infrared quirks to react to oncoming attacks like Tokoyami's. However, thanks to Jiro's attack and the quirks rebelling inside of him, he is now blind and unable to move. So he's unable to stop or see any and all of their attacks. Hawks, truly utilizing this opportunity, charges towards the now completely defenseless and senseless All For One, and with his katana, prepares to strike the killing blow and end the King of Villainy once and for all. Unfortunately for our heroes, however, All For One isn't done just yet, as before Hawks can get close enough to end this fight, the story briefly cuts to the Vestige world, where we see a now gigantic and monstrous All For One devouring all of the other Vestiges. That's right, he's literally eating them, holding him back. Which, as we see in the real world, gives back All For One the ability to use his quirks, with him immediately creating dozens upon dozens of riveting stabs all around his body, piercing absolutely everything in the nearby area. Hawks, realizing what is happening in a desperate attempt to save Tokoyami and Jiro, throws himself in front of the two heroes, saving them from being pierced by taking on all of the rivet stabs himself, leaving him bloodied and his condition questionable. And to make matters worse for our heroes, it also turns out that this wasn't just a last-ditch offensive attack from All For One, as the real purpose of the rivet stabs was to gather all of the shattered pieces of his broken mask and place them all back together around his head, repairing it. However, all hope is not lost, as right before All For One can succeed in his master plan, we see a broken and battered Endeavor whose right hand has been fully pierced by the rivets, fighting back against the rivets with his quirk. And it's in this moment where a desperate Endeavor does something astonishing. Filled with nothing but rage and his unrelenting drive to win, Endeavor screams as he charges towards All For One, severing his right arm from the rivet stabs. That's right, in a full-on rage, Endeavor propelled himself with such force that he tore off his own arm to escape All for One's rivets. Now that's determination. All for One, in seeing this, mocks Endeavor once again, calling out to the flaming hero that it is this very stubbornness that ruined his life in the first place. Upon hearing this, Endeavor begins to think about his past and himself, facing off against a younger UA version of himself in his mind. During this inner confrontation, young Enji explains to Endeavor that all his attempts to redeem himself, to pay for his mistakes, and to take responsibility have only exposed his weakness to the world and pulled him down, turning him into the pathetic hero he is now, proclaiming that Enji Todoroki can never become a superhuman. Young Enji goes on to tell Endeavor to remember his origin, and it's here where we get a quick flash of Endeavor's true origins, where it's revealed that when Endeavor was younger, he witnessed his father trying to save his sister. That's right, Endeavor had a sister from a villain attack. But unfortunately for Endeavor's dad and sister, both of them would brutally perish right before his eyes. And as these images flick through Endeavor's head, his younger self tells him to remember who the true enemy is, to remember the jealousy and inferiority he felt towards the one true superhuman, All Might, and to remember the self-deprecating act of choosing the word for hard work as his hero name, claiming that Endeavor has a soul so wretched that it could only survive by flaunting its ugliness. On hearing this, the current Endeavor places his hand around the neck of his younger self, as young Enji continues saying that Endeavor will never be like All Might or Deku, so there is no use in trying to be like someone he's not. The only way out of this hell he is in is to do what he's always done, to be the most stubborn man in the world and face his own weakness and own self-doubt with the same stubbornness and relentlessness that has kept him alive and fighting all his life. And with this statement, current Endeavor then places his arms around his younger self and ignites his past self in a blazing inferno. And with this, chapter 356 comes to an end, as Endeavor back in the real world creates an arm of fire in place of the one that had been cut off. And as he unleashes a devastating blow on All for One, shattering his mask once again, Endeavor proclaims that All for One is right. He's as stubborn as they come. So even if no one congratulates him, he will end this fight once and for all, as it is his duty as a hero. Overall, this was an awesome chapter. We got some new moves from Tokoyami, Hawks could very well be dead, and not only did Endeavor lose an arm and temporarily remake it out of his own flames, so badass, but we also got our very first glimpse into the origins of Endeavor, something I wasn't expecting at all. In all honesty, I've been really enjoying the past couple of chapters. It's great that the focus of the story has remained on this fight and hasn't been just switching around perspective like it was before. It's hard to get invested in everyone's story and fight when every second panel changes to entirely different characters in a brand new area. Having this consistency in the story has allowed me to get fully invested in the conflict. Like now, rather than hoping something interesting happens next, I'm dying to know how Endeavor is going to hold up one arm down against the king of villainy. I'm genuinely excited again. But let me know what you think of this chapter. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and comment what you think is going to happen next. For more My Hero content like this, subscribe to the Lunchtime crew. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Plus Ultra.